Now, tonight, we are pretty much like starting with the request and approval that Tinubu got from the Nigeria Senate today, about 2 days ago, when the coup was raging in Benin Republic, when a group of soldiers announced that, they've toppled the government of Patrice Talon, and declared a sort of like a martial law, military rule. In response, right, Nigeria sent their own fighter jet to Benin Republic, in which we've had visuals, like the videos of some of these fighter jets. Two of them, by the way, came under attack from what was suspected to be from the basis of the military or the soldiers in support of the military coup. However, they brought the whole thing under control when Talon resurfaced later that evening, and then he broadcasted to the nation that they've managed to take back the control of the country. So Talon eventually went straight to the supposed presidential palace. However, many others said no, it wasn't over, because there were still some renegade soldiers who were believed to be actually controlling some part of the country at the time, enough that they needed Nigeria's support. Like what Tinubu did uh, in Niger when he declared war on Niger Republic before even notifying the National Assembly, and we all know how that went. Similarly, when he declared the state of emergency on River State and removed the democratically elected government, again, he had to communicate that to the National Assembly after these decisions have been made. Similarly, now, Tinubu already have Nigerian soldiers in Benin Republic as we speak. But yeah, he needs to kind of like make it official. So he wrote to the National Assembly that he would like to send Nigerian soldiers, they call it troop, to send troop into Benin Republic on a peace mission. Benin Republic is not fighting civil war. Benin Republic is probably kind of like doesn't have any breakdown of law and order. The impression they have given to us is that the military have taken back the country from the coupists, the coup plotters. So if Benin Republic is now under control and everything is under control, rather, why do Nigeria need to send their soldiers to Benin Republic on peace mission? Like peace mission in Benin Republic, peace with who? Anyway, Onofunuga, the special advisor to Tinubu on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok matters, the 70-year-old presidential advisor, that's Onofunuga, he said, well, the first time we went there, it was the president that called us, like in panic, that we should send fighter jets to come and help him. Indeed, Nigeria did like bombed one or two places in their commercial capital, which is the Cotonou, Porto Novo, as we have it on record, right? So why did Nigeria go to Benin Republic and send fighter jet to Benin Republic while their coup was ongoing? I'm still coming back to that, but here is what Onofunuga said.
Well, let me just say I don't have the details of what the security people did, but what I know is that the government of Benin, President Talon's government, sent two note verbals to Nigeria, actually in quick succession, because the first one was that Nigeria should send fighter jets to help them to dislodge the coup plotters. And after that one was done, they again requested for ground troops. And of course, under the ECOWAS protocol of good governance and democracy, Nigeria, of course, will join other West African nations in forming what they call the ECOWAS standby forces. Well,
so there is should I call it the ECOWAS standby force? It is a pretense, it's just like a pretense formation that looks like that of NATO. But the idea behind it, right, was when France and America, right, when they believed that, you know what, why not put together some, some soldiers, military, that would then be like a standby force in case if there is any, any kind of like violence or coup that are not sanctioned by them. So you can easily just use this troop. They will have access to enter some of these or all of the West African countries that signed the deal. But guess what? Nigeria was to provide about 90% of the logistic, the funding, and mostly the personnel as well, because most of the West African countries do not have any real military in that sense. You get what I mean? So Nigeria playing the big brother in this sense, right, made them believe that they could put together a force that will be working not in the interest of Africa per se. No. It will be like a standby force that instead of them bringing French forces, American forces to come into some of the countries they will call the dictatorship rather, right? So they will just bring the West African forces in. They tried it when the Sahel states, the AES states, Burkina Faso, Niger Republic, Mali, Chad, and a few others, right? When they decide not to be part of the West, what do you call it, ECOWAS anymore, since they knew that whatever ECOWAS pushes, right, is just like the dictates of France or dictation from France. So they pulled out. And then the threat that Tinubu made against Niger Republic, which was considered as a threat against the rest of the AES countries, right? So that threat was supposed to have been carried out, right, by the ECOWAS Special Force, where you have Ghana. Ghana will have their own military. Their soldiers will join. You have the Ivory Coast, you have the Togo, you have the Benin Republic, you have Gabon, you have Guinea. No, is it Guinea? Yeah, Guinea. Then you have Gambia, and all these guys. You shall draw them all together in the pretense that they have a standby army to protect democracy in Africa, in West Africa. So when the coup was announced in Nigeria, in Benin Republic, right? The ECOWAS, the toothless ECOWAS, came up and said, they were declaring a state of emergency. Like they actually declared a state of emergency all over West Africa right now. And why is that? Because almost all the countries in West Africa right now are falling into the, into military coup. And the way it's going, it might end up being the thing as democracy is considered to have failed the people in some of these countries. So ECOWAS is now saying that if any country try to get, or if any country or any military of any country in West Africa should declare coup, so it's just going to be like a declaration of war on that country from now on. But we're going to get to that part. So yeah, Tinubu then, despite the fact that Tinubu already ordered the sort of like the military invasion of Benin Republic, going after the coupists in the name of protecting democracy, right? So there are soldiers, they've already sent soldiers to Benin Republic as we speak, but Kolu, in order to probably have his ass covered, wrote to Akpabiole this morning.
President of the Senate, distinguished Senate President, requests for the consent of the Senate for the deployment of Nigerian troops to the Republic of Benin for peace mission. Pursuant to Section 5, Subsection 5, Part 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I seek further to consultation with the National Defense Council the consent of the Senate for the deployment of Nigerian troops to the Republic of Benin. This request is made further to a request received from the government of Benin Republic for the exceptional and immediate provision of air support by the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The distinguished Senate may wish to note that the government of the Republic of Benin is currently faced with an attempted unconstitutional seizure of power and disruption and destabilization of democratic institutions. The situation, as reported by the government of Benin, requires urgent external intervention. The Swiss Senate, considering the close ties of brotherhood and friendship which exist between Nigeria and the Republic of Benin, as well as the principles of collective security upheld within ECOWAS, it is our duty to provide the support as requested by the government of the Republic of Benin. While it is my hope that the Senate will consider and approve this request expeditiously, please accept, distinguished Senate President, distinguished senators, the assurances of my highest consideration and personal regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This request for consent is committed to the Committee of the Whole for immediate action.
Maybe that's what they do. Now, let us understand something here. If not because these guys have mismanaged Nigeria so much for so long, if to say Nigeria, that I believed those who were like our forebearers, right, envisaged, if that was the envisioned Nigeria that we have right now, this Nigeria should be the biggest brother in Africa, right? I mean, militarily, by your population, by the economy, by your military might and the rest of that, Nigeria should dominate. Nigeria shouldn't be a country where terrorists will be having field day. It is so disgraceful that other African countries do not look up to Nigeria except their own political, their political leaders who are looking for leverages, right? Political leverages just for their own personal gain. Nigeria was supposed to be a country that will be sending warnings to some rebels or some, some armed rebels in Africa to tell them that we are giving you so time, or else Nigeria will strike you and we will get rid of you. But Nigeria that can't defend herself. It is so crazy, right? That even up to the 90s, Nigeria was so prominent, right, in their this international diplomatic engagement, that Nigeria was so respected, not just in those international like that, within Africa. Up to the 90s, the South Africans, who possibly not all of them kind of like appreciate that anymore anyway. But yeah, that was how much Nigeria was involved, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Gambia, Gabon, all these places. You have the record of how Nigeria played the big brother role, and everybody kind of like fell in line somehow. But these days, right, it is just one embarrassment to another. A country that couldn't keep our own citizens safe, a country that is negotiating with a terrorist, a country that celebrates the rehabilitation of terrorists, country that seems so powerless, and at the same time, the leaders are so shameless that they couldn't see through that. So now we need to save Benin Republic. We need to save Benin Republic's democracy. And now soldiers are being sent to the country. Well, I don't know on what order, because right now it's obvious that with what Talon, the request of Talon in this instance, it simply means Benin Republic cannot defend herself. And now Nigeria needs to probably come in. But there are a lot of people that are saying that, listen, if this is the internal kind of like a problem of Benin Republic, which is political in this sense, the genesis of this whole thing, which ECOWAS usually ignores, they will have controversial elections, rigged elections all over the place. ECOWAS will still endorse the dictators, the criminals. These criminals will change the constitution of their own country to extend their stay in office. ECOWAS will look away. And then something happened, right? ECOWAS want to save this country. It sounds so hypocritical to me. 2 years or so ago, no, was it 2 years ago, last year, Talon's party moved in the parliament to change the constitution. Usually they have this 5-year term, 10 years, 2 terms. Now they've changed the constitution to 7 years term, although Talon said he won't be contesting or running for that office or is disqualified. So he's not a beneficiary of the change in the constitution. So in the whole thing, right, it's all politics. Politics within Benin Republic that Nigeria would have to take side in the name of protecting democracy. They want to protect democracy now, but they didn't do same a year or 2 ago when these guys were making move in changing their constitution. A lot of them have done it. Like, look at that Otara. Otara in, I think that one is Ivory Coast, is it? They sworn in yesterday for another term, 5th term, I think. He himself changed the constitution to ensure that they could run for as long as he wants. ECOWAS won't look into that, but when crisis happens, right, ECOWAS want to protect democracy. Not just ECOWAS, those ones are like, just like toothless paper tigers, right? But then the West, America, France, especially France, right? So when those in charge are violating their own constitution, abusing the supposed privileges given to them by their country, abusing all of that, as long as they are giving the West whatever they wanted or whatever they are taking from their country, right, they will look away. This is part of what people believe that it will never happen in this part of the world, not in the West. The kind of elections that they allow to take place in Africa, as well as the amount of corruption institutionalized by them in Africa, right, will make you kind of question the type of, democracy we practice here and the one they practice or allow to be practiced in Africa. That's always leading to trouble. Anyway, Akpabioli and his gang couldn't wait to approve it. But there are few others who are senators who are present. One of them actually stood out, and that is Seriake Dixon, asking that, come, this whole thing, right? But they still did all their best to shut him down. Then they approved it for Kolu, Dixon, Oshiomole, and few others in this clip.
Sorry, you are wrong. Sorry? The communication is for the Senate to give consent for the President to act in line with the Constitution, not to debate.
Mr. President.
So the communication, if you debate,
we are saying the same thing. Can you listen also?
No. All the senators here that gave consent are aware of the content of that letter. They would not have given consent if they were not in agreement with the President's request.
Once it is closed, Mr. President, you cannot reopen it. It is sealed in concrete. Our endorsement of the action is total. It is not open to further conversation. And comments expressed just now on this very critical issue by the Deputy Senate President.
By ECOWAS.
But on conveying the views and commendation of the ECOWAS Parliament as he has done. But, Mr. President, without prejudice to that, I have thought that with the communication of Mr. President, which has been read this morning, that we will discuss the validity and the appropriateness and add value to it. Because the whole essence is for that communication to be debated, for it to enjoy legitimacy, so that everyone in this country will know, and even outside will know. So now what I'm saying is that...
Sorry, you are wrong.
Sorry?
The communication is for the Senate to give consent for the President to act in line with the Constitution, not to debate.
Mr. President.
So the communication, if you,
We are saying the same thing. Can you listen?
No.